Hello students, so we have talked about our natural resource water in our last lecture. So today we are going to study about water pollution, the pollution of our natural resource water, which is very important for all the life forms present on our planet. We have studied the importance of water or by the activities that the area in which water is present in a huge amount have very large number of species diversity. So we know that water is very important. Now we will study about its pollution or how the water bodies are getting polluted. So first of all, what is pollution? So any undesirable change, any kind of undesirable change which is not desirable or which is not suitable for the living organisms present in water bodies is called as water pollution. So it can be done by three different things. First is addition of undesirable substances. If we add undesirable substances in water bodies, it can lead to its pollution. Or removal of desirable substances. There are many substances in water bodies which are necessary for living organisms living in there. So if we remove those desirable substances, it can also lead to its pollution. Or last is change in temperature. We know that every organism can be survive only in a fair range of temperature. We cannot survive if temperature rises more than 60 degrees or fall down in minus 50 degrees. So like that also water organisms living in water bodies, they are also affected by change in its temperature. So change in temperature of water bodies is also a kind of water pollution. So now let's study how these three pollution causing things are done in our planet or in our atmosphere. First of all, addition of undesirable substances, in which first we have talked about is pesticides and fertilizers. We know that all farmers or any kind of farming on our planet is done with the help of pesticides and fertilizers for increasing the yield of crop. So these pesticides and fertilizers are kind of chemicals. We know that these are all chemicals made up of some chemical products. So these chemicals are harmful if they are poured in water bodies. So fertilizers and pesticides we use in farm get mixed with soil, and when the rain or any kind of things which brought up this soil into nearest water bodies, they pollute these water bodies. Another substance which is undesirable and it's getting added in our water bodies is poisonous substances like mercury salt. So what is mercury salt? Mercury salt is used in paper industries. Any kind of industries which forms paper or substances or products of papers, they use mercury salt in their factory. This mercury salt, if get into any kind of water body, we know that mercury is poisonous for any living organism. So this is also a undesirable substance which is getting transferred into our water bodies, which creates water pollution. Another is sewage water. We know that any municipal or let's take example from Bhavnagar municipal, tons of liters of sewage is produced on daily basis. In a city having very huge population, metro cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, they produce tons of liters of sewage every day. This all sewage is transferred into nearest water bodies. So these water bodies gets tons of sewage water on daily basis. This sewage water contains many dangerous chemicals like detergent, soap, our excreta, sometimes plastic. So this sewage water is the main problem, you can say that main component of polluting our water bodies. Another disease causing bacteria. It can be added with sewage water also, because sewage water contains many kinds of bacteria and other microorganisms which are harmful for any living organism living in water bodies. So this disease causing bacteria, sewage water, mercury salt, or any other substances, poisonous substances from any kind of industries, fertilizers, pesticides, these all are undesirable substances which are not needed in our water bodies. So these all substances are added in our water bodies on daily basis, which are causing water pollution. Another thing which can create water pollution is removal of desirable substances. Substances which are necessary in water bodies or desirable for living organisms present in water bodies are removed. First is dissolved oxygen. So now what is this? We know that all living things or living organisms needs O2 or oxygen for their respiration, for cells to work, to break down glucose, to gain energy. We have talked about this earlier. So this O2 in water, or you can say in aquatic habitat, this oxygen in aquatic habitat is obtained in the form of dissolved oxygen. It gets dissolved into water. So animals living in water bodies, they consume water and they consume dissolved oxygen from this water. So how can you remove this dissolved oxygen? So we have to go back to this thing, disease causing bacteria or any kind of microorganism. If the number of microorganisms increases in any water bodies, they will consume oxygen. They also need oxygen for their aerobic respiration. So they will consume most of the dissolved oxygen from our water bodies. So it will increase the biological oxygen demand. So what is biological oxygen demand? The demand of oxygen dissolved in water. Any water bodies containing many life forms, they need oxygen. So this demand, they need oxygen. So this demand of oxygen is called as biological oxygen demand, or you can say it in short form as BOD. So when microorganisms consume this dissolved oxygen from water bodies, the biological oxygen demand or BOD increases. The other life forms also needs oxygen. So this can be lead to water pollution, because life forms already present in these water bodies will not get enough oxygen due to this removal of dissolved oxygen. So this is the first part of removing of desirable substances from water bodies. And we can also say that other nutrients are also getting removed from water bodies for different purposes. So this can lead to water pollution. Last thing which can lead to water pollution is change in temperature. As we talked that any living form needs a suitable temperature to survive. So when the temperature of water bodies gets changed, the organism present in that water body also gets affected. So how can the temperature of water bodies can be altered or changed. So first is hot water from specific industries. We know that all kind of industries also dump their polluted water or sewage in any nearer water bodies. It can be river, pond, oceans, etc. So there are many specific industries which uses water for their cooling purposes. In many industries there are many functions which can be which are done with the help of hot water, or which are responsible for higher the temperature. So these hot industries needs water for their cooling system. So they use water for their cooling purposes. So after the cooling, the water which they have used, we will also get hot or can rise temperature. So this hot water again get dumped into nearer water bodies, which changes its temperature on very high range, which is highly affecting our living organisms present in water bodies. Second is cold water from reservoirs. Sometimes we know that there is a many structures like dams. They store water, or you can say it's reservoir. So we know that if water is stored in this very high amount, the water present in deep area, this is deep, it will be very cooler, because on the surface they get sunlight, but in deep inside the water will be very cool. And when this reservoirs, when this dam is open, the water flows in near river, so the temperature will decrease there. So cold water or hot water can change the temperature of water bodies and leads to its pollution. So these are the three aspects from which water can be polluted, and it can lead to very dangerous situation for the living organisms present in our water bodies. So this is our topic, water pollution. Our next topic is our last natural resource, which is soil. We have talked about air, we have talked about water, now we will talk about soil. The topic name is mineral riches in the soil. So we know that soil is very important for the diversity present on it, or you can say if soil is responsible for the presence of living organisms on it. Let's take an example. We know that on any barren land means where there is no vegetation, there is no any kind of plantation. Why? Because it is called as barren land, because the quality of soil there is not acceptable for plant production or crop formation. Why? Because soil is of many types. We know that if you have also seen the different kind of soils at different area. If you go in a crop field, if you go in any farmland, you will see that the soil there is very moist. It is containing very small fine particles. There are no rock present there. Now if you go to any kind of any desert, you will see that there is also different kind of sand. If you go to any kind of any area where there is no plantation or there is no vegetation, you will see that why there is no vegetation there, because the soil there is not as desirable for plant production. So we know that soil is very important for any kind of vegetation, any kind of plantation. So first of all we will see that how this soil is formed. How this soil we see in our around is formed, or how the formation of soil occurred in our earth or in our planet. So what is soil? First of all, we know that this is our planet earth. So the topmost layer, which we call as crust, we have talked about this when we started this chapter. So this crust is, we call it as a soil. So how first of all this soil is formed? We also know that this soil or crust contains minerals. Minerals is also a kind of chemicals or elements. Minerals like sodium, potassium, nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, sulfur. These all minerals are responsible for plant production or any kind of crop production, because we know that any plant or vegetation needs these all minerals or elements to grow. All vegetation requires this kind of minerals. So where does these minerals come from in our soil? So minerals were present in huge rocks when the earth formed from the Big Bang theory. We know that when earth formed, it was having huge rocks of these minerals. You can say there were rocks which contained phosphorus, or there a whole huge rock containing huge amount of phosphorus or sulfur or magnesium. These were present in huge rocks. But around 1000 years during the course of evolution of our planet Earth, these 1000 years, these huge rocks destroyed, or you can say these huge rocks get destroyed to form small particles of our soil or sand. So this process of conversion of these huge rocks into the fine particles of sand or soil took 1000 years to complete. So during this course of 1000 years of evolution, these huge rocks present on our earth gets converted into crust or soil or sand particles by many factors, or we can say many factors responsible for this soil production. So we will see how this soil is formed, or which are these factors which convert these huge rocks of minerals into our soil, fine particles of our soil. So there are four main kind of factors which are responsible for production of soil. Which are first sun, then second water, third air, and fourth living organisms. These four factors are responsible for production of soil. Let us see each of them. First is sun. We are first you have to understand that we are talking about these huge rocks or conversion of these huge rocks into fine particles of sand. This is what we are talking about, conversion of huge rocks into sand. So let's see how these factors can affect this procedure of conversion of huge rocks into sand. First is sun. We know that presence of sun or presence of sunlight increases temperature during day, and during night this temperature gets down. So if any big rock is present and temperature rises, it will expand this rock. It will expand this rock, and during night time when temperature is down, they will contract. So during this expansion and contraction of any huge rock, the cracks are formed in the rock. These cracks, when water gets into these cracks, the rocks gets broken, or these cracks gets deepened into the rock. So sunlight is factor responsible for production of these small cracks on our huge rock, which contains many kind of minerals. So let's see how water acts in the formation of soil. So we have know that now these cracks are formed, the water will get into these cracks, and when temperature is very low, the water freezes in between these cracks of the rocks. So when water freezes in these cracks of the rocks, it will also destroy the rock, because we know that when water is in liquid form, it contains very small space, but when it converted into solid state, or you can say ice, it will acquire more space, so it will expand these rocks from inside, so it will convert it into very small fine particles, or you can say it sand. This is the first procedure by which water acts in this production of soil. Second is running water or flowing water, like in rivers. This flowing water also takes these rocks with them. If you see that there is a river flowing here, and many kind of rocks are present at the bottom of this river. So these rocks will also get traveled with this flow of rivers, and during this traveling, these rocks will get abrasion with each other, and during this collision, this will also destroyed in small particles of rocks, and as the river flows through, these particles will getting smaller and smaller, and when these are converted into sand, it will deposited at very far place. So you see here that sand produced is very far away from these parent rocks. These are parent rocks from which our soil is produced, but parent rock was very far away from where the soil is deposited now. So by these two means, water can act in soil formation or formation of mineral rich soil from huge rocks. Now see how air is responsible in this production or in this process. So as we have talked about these flowing rivers containing very large amount of rocks, air also helps in this movement of sand from one place to another. In desert we know that there are clouds of sand. When the speed of air or flowing air is very high, the clouds of sands are produced, which are transferred from one place to another. So during this evolution, also some kind of rocks get transferred from one place to another, and during this transfer they also collide with each other. So same like water, air also plays an important role in soil production. Now last one is living organisms. How can a living organism can act in production of soil? So there are there is one component which is lichens. We have talked about this lichens, that it is symbiotic form of algae and fungi. Algae plus fungi forms lichens. These lichens during their lifetime they produce some kind of acid. These lichens can grow on rocks also. It is not compulsory that soil should be present for the survival of lichens. It can survive on rocks, and when they produce this acid, it destroys the rocks from inside. So lichens play a very important role in destruction of huge rocks into soil. And there are also other living organisms like mosses and sometimes big trees. Mosses is kind of plants. We will study it in another chapter in the classification of plants. So these mosses also grows on rocks and destroy the rock into smaller particles. And big trees, the roots of big trees, we know that they get involved in cracks of rock, and as the tree gets grow higher, the roots will also grow and it will destroy the rock into fine particles of sand. So these are four factors responsible for production of soil from huge rocks. So we have seen the formation of soil. In our next lecture we will study how the pollution of soil is occurred, or how our soil gets polluted. Thank you, students.